Hello everyone, and welcome back to AniMonolith's light novel summary series for Tensei Shitara Slime Ken. Picking up right after the last episode, we shift to another battlefield. The fight of Gabiru. His opponent is none other than Marco, a member of the feared Single Digits, ranked number 8. Up until now, Marco had been hiding under the guise of an ordinary intelligence officer. But Gabiru saw through him. With no other choice, Marco ordered his subordinates to retreat. He would fight alone. Over 800 years ago, Marco rose to the rank of Imperial Knight, thanks to his unique skill, Impersonator. Unlike Hinata's Usurper, which steals skills, Impersonator allows him to completely transform into anyone he has seen, copying their strength and abilities, though not perfectly, especially against opponents vastly stronger than him. Still, the more powerful people he encountered, the more forms and abilities he could accumulate. Over time, Marco awakened as a saint, and was promoted into the elite ranks of the Single Digits, nearly 700 years ago. At first, Marco believed Kondo Tatsuya was merely an imperial favorite, a man propped up by the Emperor's will. But after crossing blades with him, Marco realized the truth. Kondo was a monster beyond reason. Since then, Marco had not only respected Kondo, he outright idolized him. And now, facing a formidable enemy in Gabiru, Marco decided to take the form of the man he revered most, Kondo himself. Equipped with a legendary grade weapon and bolstered by the ultimate enchantment. Alternative, a gift from Emperor Rudra, Marco believed victory was his. In this form, he could freely alter his weapon between sword and gun, mimicking Kondo's style. Gabiru, meanwhile, wielded the Vortex Spear, the treasured weapon of the Lizardmen, passed down from his father Abil. Its power ranked at the unique grade, reliable but far inferior to Marco's legendary armament. However, Gabiru still had one trump card, Dragon Skin, a defensive ability at the mythical grade, capable of withstanding devastating attacks. Though he knew he faced someone on par with an awakened demon lord, Gabiru steeled his resolve. But the battle ended before it could truly begin. Marco, in Kondo's form, immediately unleashed the fearsome technique Baika Gokatotsu. Gabiru countered with his Vortex Crash, but the gap in experience and skill was insurmountable. In moments, Gabiru was struck down, collapsing on the brink of death. The truth was harsh. Though Gabiru had awakened as a demon lord, he had not yet mastered his newfound strength. His potential might have surpassed Marco's, but in terms of technique, control, and precision, Marco was far superior. The result was inevitable. Gabiru fell in defeat, his fate now hanging by a thread. However, Marco was still unable to end the battle. At that moment, Suka and Gabil's subordinates rushed to his side, standing firmly to protect their leader. Against a Saint-class warrior like Marco, even special A-rank fighters were no match. Yet their true purpose wasn't to win, but to buy time at the cost of their lives so that Gabil could recover. Unfortunately, Marco's technique carried a battle aura that destroyed the body from within, rendering healing potions useless. One after another, Gabil's allies collapsed, though thankfully none of them were fatally wounded. Watching them sacrifice themselves, Gabil desperately shouted for Suka and the others to retreat immediately. But Suka boldly refused, declaring that she was under Sue's command, and therefore had no obligation to follow Gabil's orders. Not only Suka, but even Gabil's loyal subordinates chose to defy his command, throwing themselves into the fight to shield him. Overcome with emotion, Gabil nearly burst into tears at their loyalty. Just then, Veyron and Zonda, Ultima's subordinates, appeared on the battlefield. Veyron urged Suka to focus on protecting the wounded while he would confront Marco himself. Meanwhile, Zonda moved to treat Gabil's injuries. The battle raged on fiercely, but suddenly Marco withdrew using teleportation. It wasn't because he feared defeat. He simply had a more pressing mission to attend to. After Marco withdrew, Moss scanned the battlefield with growing unease. Things were clearly turning for the worse. King Gazelle was already down, unable to fight. The three primordials were locked in a stalemate with Velgrynd, while on another front, Phobio and Gabwa were struggling desperately against Tear and Footman. Hakurao was gravely wounded. Thanks to Zonda's healing, Gabil was slowly recovering, but it would still take time before he could rejoin the battle. Meanwhile, Gadra was locked in a verbal clash with Velgrynd's parallel existence. His role was only to stall for time, but the outcome was obvious. He would eventually lose. Confident though he was, Moss understood well that Kondo was far too dangerous. At that very moment, Ajera had stepped up to confront him, while Esprit tended to the fallen. Moss wondered anxiously, how long could Ajera possibly hold him back? If the worst came, Moss considered taking the field himself. Yet that was a luxury he could not afford. His true value lay elsewhere, information and coordination. From the very start, it was thanks to Moss's constant stream of information that Benimaru could command the battle so effectively. If Moss recklessly engaged Kondo and fell, Tempest's defeat would only come faster. Even so, Moss clenched his resolve. Failure is not an option. Steeling himself, he continued to glide across the battlefield, gathering intel and relaying orders. Nearby, Esprit cried out while tending to Gazelle and Hakuru. "Finish him, Ajera. I'll stay out of your way." Hearing this, Ajera only sighed and shook his head. He knew Esprit's nature all too well. She always avoided the losing side and conveniently left the toughest fights to others. This time was no exception. Unable to face Kondo herself, she simply handed the task over to him. Thus, the burden of holding back Kondo, the most dangerous enemy of all, fell squarely on Agera's shoulders. Agera stepped forward to face Kondo, fully aware of the danger. He knew that even if Hakurao and Gazelle had fought together, Kondo would have overwhelmed them. That was why Agera chose to enter the fray himself. He wanted to test his limits against such an opponent. From the sidelines, Hakuru raised a hesitant question. Was Agera perhaps the reincarnation of his own grandfather, Byakuya Araki? The resemblance was uncanny: appearance, stature, mannerisms, even the way he spoke. Agera, however, denied it. He claimed he was simply a demon born 300 years ago, not Hakuru's grandfather. Though Hakuru suspected otherwise, he chose not to press further. His grandfather had indeed died 3 centuries ago, but if Agera denied it, there was little point in arguing. Esprit and Gazelle, listening nearby, quietly wondered the same. The possibility lingered, but Agera himself gave nothing away. Throughout this exchange, Kondo remained silent, calmly watching. His body, sharpened by 2 battles already, was still brimming with fighting spirit. Yet he judged Agera's level to be beneath him. Just as he was about to accept the duel, Kondo sensed Velgrind's signal. The ritual was complete. Her parallel existence was struggling against Veldora, and it was time for him to withdraw. "Apologies, but duty comes first," Kondo said flatly. With an air of contempt, he sheathed his blade and turned his back on Agera. Agera did not try to stop him. As Kondo walked away, Agera exhaled heavily, sweat running cold down his back. He understood all too well. He had narrowly escaped death. Gadra engaged Velgrynd in a one-sided standoff. He never intended to fight directly. One blow from her could shatter even the demon colossus. Instead, he relied on flattery and persistent questioning to buy time. Velgrynd humored him at first, but quickly grew irritated by his endless inquiries. Their exchange revealed key intelligence. Velgrynd admitted her long service under Emperor Rudra, but dismissed concerns about imperial casualties, explaining the war was merely a tool to awaken stronger fighters. Gadra pressed further, questioning Damrata's actions and raising the issue of Masayuki. Velgrynd was genuinely unaware of the boy, which shocked Gadra, since Masayuki's resemblance to Emperor Rudra was an obvious dangerous fact. This revelation unsettled Velgrynd, forcing her to reconsider Damrata's intentions. Though she had no intention of killing Gadra, Velgrynd offered him a duel. Gadra laughed it off, cleverly refusing without appearing cowardly, maintaining his cover while still avoiding certain death. Velgrynd dismissed him as amusing but harmless. The situation then escalated. Sensing a shift on the battlefield, Velgrynd withdrew her split body from combat with Veldora and prepared for a greater move. Hovering in the air, she invoked space-time connection. The skies twisted open and countless flying ships materialized, an entire fleet carrying the magic beast core. Gadra was left in shock. By normal means, it should have taken the fleet 3 days to arrive, yet Velgrynd had summoned them instantly across space and time. The feat defied belief. Even Rimuru himself could attempt such a transfer only with extreme difficulty, yet Velgrynd executed it effortlessly. Velgrynd's serious intervention completely shifted the tide of battle. Against her full power, the 3 primordial demons, Testarossa, Ultima, and Carrera, were utterly outclassed. Her attacks were relentless, each strike carrying overwhelming destructive force, and yet the 3 survived thanks only to Rimuru's orichalcum bodies, infused with their primordial mana. Even so, they were battered, bloodied, and on the brink of collapse. Velgrynd herself admitted surprise at their endurance. She had expected to finish them instantly, yet they endured her onslaught with sheer willpower and close combat skill. Despite their injuries, the 3 demons laughed off their pain, declaring they would not fall so disgracefully, if only to avoid Diablo's ridicule. Their defiance exemplified their creed: until you admit defeat, you are not defeated. Realizing brute force would not overcome Velgrynd, Testarossa turned to analysis. She revealed her discovery. Velgrind's technique, parallel existence, was not invincible. Though it nullified physical damage, each split body consumed energy. Their attacks, though seemingly futile, were still draining Velgrind's reserves. Velgrynd begrudgingly acknowledged Testaross's insight, recognizing her sharp tactical mind even while overwhelmed. Carrera mocked Velgrynd for showing too much leeway, comparing her unfavorably to Veldora. The jab annoyed Velgrynd, yet oddly also stirred a sense of pride in her brother's growth. With her goal against Veldora nearly met and her spirit shifting, Velgrynd made a decision. Declaring that she would not go easy on her brother but had no reason to waste time here, she abruptly withdrew her split body. Before the three demonesses could react, Velgrynd vanished from the battlefield, leaving them bruised but alive. A moment later, they finally grasped the situation when Rimuru contacted and summoned the entire Black Numbers back to Tempest, thus forming two parallel fronts. And that's where today's video ends. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next AniMonolith recap.